I don't know what the hell we were thinking. It was, a couple kids meeting some dude in the parking lot at a McDonald's late at night. What could possibly go wrong? What is happening, guys? Todd here. So I thought I'd share another story with you in this video. If you remember back a while back, I posted a story about meeting a Amiga Pirate BBS sysop when I was going to school in Columbus, Ohio. And I thought I'd share another story with you out of my my Amiga years. This would have been early '96. At this point, I just came back from college, stayed with my parents for a little while I was kind of, in between college things. My brother hadn't yet graduated high school. He was 17, I think, so he was several years behind me. And there was a listing in the local newspaper for an Amiga 2000. And, this predates things like going on Craigslist or, going on eBay. I mean, actually, I think eBay might have came out in late 96 or 97. But anyways, this predates, all of our online commerce and how we usually find things online. This was the old-fashioned way, newspaper. So we found a listing local guy in our area in Huntington, West Virginia, because I grew up in West Virginia. But there was a local guy that was selling an Amiga 2000 setup. It didn't go into a lot of great details about what there was, what was included, just, Amiga 2000 computer. At the time, my brother had his Amiga 500. I just had my 486, Windows DOS PC, but my brother had an Amiga 500, and he was running his own BBS at that point called the Dungeon back in West Virginia, and he ran off and on for a year or two, but he was running his BBS, and he was interested in getting this Amiga 2000 because there's quite a bit more expansion available for the 2000. It's a big box computer. There's more room for floppy drives, internal hard drives, internal RAM, and you don't have a bunch of stuff stacked on the outside, on the side of it, on the side card, stuff like that. So he was interested in getting this machine. So we called the ad, it listed in the local newspaper, and was like, what can we do to get this? You do any trades? Because I don't remember the price he wanted for the machine, if he even had a price. It might have been one of these make an offer kind of things. But so we called the guy up, tried to haggle with him to see what he wanted, and I want to say he wanted $400 or $500, which at the time neither one of us had any money. Typical kids of that age, when you're in college or high school, you don't really, back then, it wouldn't have been very easy. It wouldn't have been very easy to come up with that kind of money. So we called him up, was like, hey, once again, just like in the Pirate BBS story, it was like, what can we do to haggle? What can we do to trade? And the guy's like, about the only thing I'm looking for is maybe a sound card and a CD-ROM for my Windows PC or his DOS PC. Apparently, he had just got from work, he got some sort of IBM compatible computer, and it, typical at the time, they didn't include sound cards or CD-ROMs, not typically anyways, not all of them. So he's like, I'm looking for a sound card and a CD-ROM. I'm like, I can do that. So I ended up taking my 486. I had an AST 486. So I took the CD-ROM out. I took the sound card out, and I put the drivers on floppy disk because I had the original installed floppy drivers. Put them on a floppy disk, and got it all together. And my brother and I went and met this guy. Now, keep in mind, this is late at night. It wasn't the middle of the day. This is one of those nighttime type transactions. So we set the spot. It was a local McDonald's, and it was probably 9:30, 10 at night. And this is early in '96, probably, I don't know, February, March, April, something like that. So it's it's pitch black at that time of night. I don't know what the hell we were thinking. It was, a couple kids meeting some dude in the parking lot at a McDonald's late at night. What could possibly go wrong? So anyways, we get to McDonald's, and, this guy's standing outside his car. He's obviously, ready to do the deal. We got our car, walk up to his trunk, and, when his trunk pops open, we don't know what to suspect. There could be anything in there. There could be a dead hooker. It could be lined in plastic where he plans on shooting us and throws it in the trunk. Nobody knows what's going to be in there. But he pops the trunk, and, lo and behold, it's a, Amiga 2000. It was in pretty nice condition. There was the computer, there was a keyboard, mouse, there was some extra software. But interestingly enough, what else was included? There was also a monitor. It would have been a Commodore Amiga 2002 monitor. Most of these days, when people think of getting a Commodore monitor for their Amiga, especially if like a 500 or 1200, they think of getting a Commodore monitor. They usually think of the 1084. Very popular model. There's tons of variations of the 1084s. There's a couple different D models. There's stereo models. There's mono models. There's models with RGB, some with RGB and composite, and chrome and luma separate. There's all sorts of variations. Some of them have 6-pin inputs, some have 9-pin. There's wildly different variations on the 1084. However, Commodore made several other 15 kilohertz RGB monitors as well. 1084 is most popular, but they also made the 1080, which I've owned, and I've owned several 1084s. They also did 2002. The 2002 was spec-wise, very similar tube-wise and to the other 15 kilohertz Amiga model monitors. So this is the first time we'd ever had a monitor with our Amigas. Up until this point, we'd been using just the crappy little A520 plug-in module that goes into the back of the Amiga and gives you composite video and/or RF if you want it. Because the Amiga 500 didn't have a built-in RF modulator, and while it does have composite output, it's black and white only. I'm never really clear why Commodore chose that, but anyways, the 500 only ever had black and white mono composite video out. So if you want stereo, you of course have to buy the 520 or use an RGB monitor. So this was our first experience getting an RGB monitor, and we were excited about that because we knew the RGB monitor was going to look better. We just had no idea what it looked like, but we knew it looked better. So, we exchanged with the guy, the computer for the CD-ROM and the sound card and the software. And, he was delighted. He was super pleased because apparently he got this computer from work. I don't know if the work was gave it to him or if it was one of those deals where he took it home and he was using it for work purposes. I don't know. Don't really care. But, he needed a CD-ROM sound card so he could, I guess, maybe play some games or educational stuff or whatever the case was. So, we traded the stuff to him and we went on our ways. Cool. At the time, I was, like I said earlier, I was back home. My brother, of course, was still living home. So we come carrying in this big Amiga 2000 setup, computer and arms, monitor, all this stuff, extra software. Of course, Mom was like, whoa, what the hell have you got there? We explained to her, loosely. I don't know if I want to say I went to exact details about what this, what the deal was or what the trade was. You know how it is when you come to your parents. You're always kind of, shall we say, lacking in details when it comes to some of these kinds of transactions. You leave things kind of purposely vague. But of course, Mom wouldn't know if it was stolen. She's like, not that we stole, but that whoever got it from was stolen. I'm like, no, it seemed legit. Guys seemed legit. He was, he'd moved on and other stuff. But she wanted to call the police. So we called the local police and gave them the serial number information and, what it was. And they checked their database and no one had ever reported it stolen. So, that satisfied Mom, and that, of course, made us satisfied because we didn't have to worry about having the cops come and kick our door down because they heard that, well, we got a pirate stolen Amiga. But, the guy had a lot of interesting software with the computer. There were some games like Fright Night and a few other things that, to be honest, I don't even remember nowadays. I remember my brother playing Fright Night on it that first night when we got home. But, we were quite, surprised about just how clear the RGB monitor was. It was, oh man, it was so much better than using composite on those machines. It was like night and day difference, especially with his Amiga with doing BBS stuff. Sometimes when you're dialing the BBSs, the text can be kind of fuzzy, and I don't want to say it's hard to read, but it's just not very pleasant to read. And you plug an RGB monitor and say, oh hell, I can actually read this now. It doesn't hurt my eyes. It's it's just far more legible. So my brother ended up taking this 2000 and running his bulletin board on the 2000 for a couple of years. I want to say he used that machine till like maybe 98 or I don't know, something like that. 98 or so. And it eventually had a power supply failure, and I think he ended up buying another power supply off of, at that time, I think it might have been eBay he bought it off of. But in the meantime, in between that period, he had quite a bit of upgrades he put in that machine. He put in I think we got it from a local guy that we knew that had a bunch of Amiga hardware. Had moved over, at that point, had abandoned Amiga a few years earlier and moved over to Mac. But the guy had still a ton of extra hardware and accessories left over from his days. And I think my brother got off of him a Supra 8-up. I think it was a 4-up or 8-up car, which would have gave the 2000... I think it was populated with 2 or 4 megs of fast RAM, which that would be a big boost for a stock 2000, which is what this was. It was a completely stock machine. He had it in one of the... I think it was a hard card. Basically, it was a PCB that went into one of the expansion slots that had either an IDE or a SCSI drive mounted straight to the board. So it'd be like, imagine, like these, if you were seeing any of these PCI Express cards that go into computers that allow you to put an SSD or two on it. Imagine that, but with a big ass 3.5-inch, hard drive attached to it. That's what that was. And he had one of those in there. So this was an ideal machine for running, a bulletin board system. For basic bulletin board. So he ran his Dungeon BBS off this machine for a couple of years, and it was a great machine. I want to say also at one point he ended up buying one of the toaster cards, because you could get the toaster card for the 2000s. He was doing at the time when he was in high school, and I believe 12th grade, he was doing video production, and his local high school actually used a toaster setup for doing video editing and production and effects and stuff like that. So he was one of the guys that was really involved with it, because they knew he had an Amiga at home, whereas most of the people that dealt with that stuff, they'd never heard of the Amiga. They might tinker with it in there in the lab, or use it there, but as far as at home, they either didn't have a computer or they had something else. So for him to have an Amiga at home, it gave him an advantage when it came to using the stuff. So he ended up eventually buying a toaster board for this thing, and he had some sort of big expensive Panasonic like one of those shoulder-sized camcorders. He really got into that stuff back then. He sunk a ton of money into that machine and the accessories and some of the other stuff with it. And I don't know if he ever really did anything with the toaster setup on that machine, but we had a good time using it. Well, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's maybe not quite as eventful as the Pirate BBS SysOp story, but I still want to share something from my youth, especially something with my brother. For us, from that time period, from our teens up into our early 20s, yeah, teens and early 20s, the Amiga was quite a big part of it. My brother, besides just that 2000 and his 500, we also went to several Amiga meetings. The Midwest Amiga Expo, I think is what it was called, or something like that. It took place in Columbus, Ohio. They had it for 3 or 4 years. We went to several of those. So we had a lot of great fun, met a lot of great people, and if I can think of any more stories pertinent to that time period Amiga related, I'll post them up. I've got a couple other ones, like our first experience with the Amiga 500. That's another story, but that's for another video. That's for another very specific video. But if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this one, give me a thumbs up. Hit subscribe for more great content. Don't forget to hit that little bell icon, that way you get notified, and leave a comment below. I'd be interested to hear your maybe your adventures getting hardware. Anytime you get a great deal on the machine, or you had to go trek out and get it to some dicey condition, something like that, feel free to leave a comment below. I'd be interested in reading. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video.